So today we're going to do a tune-up on the Land Cruiser. These 3FE straight six engines are pretty notorious for being sluggish, for not having a lot of power. But you know, any engine that's got 330,000 miles, if it hasn't been well maintained, is going to lack the power that it originally had. It's going to lack the horsepower, the torque, whatever that it originally was designed to have. And so we don't know the history on this engine, so one of the things I want to do right off the bat is do a tune-up. We're going to do spark plugs, distributor cap and rotor, and new spark plug wires. And I've also got some other things that we'll do along the way, but today we'll start with this simple tune-up. So this is what we're going to do today. I've got the distributor cap, the rotor, spark plug wires, and a set of 6 spark plugs. So everything we're doing today on the engine is hard to get to, so the camera footage is not going to be real detailed, but I'll kind of bring you along as best I can. So down on this side of the engine, passenger side, there's this rubber cover, and underneath there you can see the shadows are pretty terrible, sorry. That's where the distributor is, and then you can see all along the side of the engine is our 6 spark plugs. It'll go down there and all the way over to this side as well. So the first thing I did is I pulled this rubber cover off of the distributor. You can see it just unsnaps, and then you kind of got to pull it out of there. All the spark plug cables are wrapped in it and around it, but you can get it out of there. Most distributors on other vehicles do not have a big rubber boot on it, but this is Land Cruiser's attempt at making it a little more, not waterproof, but water resistant, which is helpful, I suppose. So we'll set that aside. Now we've got to take these battery or spark plug cables off and get them out of the way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually mark them. Actually, it looks like they are marked. See, some of these have numbers on them. I don't know if you can see that. There's a 5 on that one. Yeah, it looks like they're all marked so that you can keep them straight. And there's markings on the distributor cap so that that correspond to the number of the cylinder and each spark plug. The one that goes on the center here comes back here to the I think it's called the coil. I can't remember. And then you got to take this plastic cover off of there. There's a little clip you push on, and that should slide off, and that'll allow you to take the center cable off. So there was 3 screws holding the distributor cap on, and I pulled all the spark plug wires off the spark plugs, and then there's 2 vacuum hoses connected to the top of the distributor, so I'll pull those off, and then I'm just going to leave the spark plug wires connected to the distributor as I pull it out. And there it is. If we look underneath, there's a little bit of corrosion on each one of those pulls, and you know that can interfere with getting a good connection and getting good spark. So that's why we're replacing it. Okay, there's the rotor. Got to pull pretty hard to get it off, but it does come off, and it's pretty. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's kind of corroded, kind of tore up on the front there. So before I go any further, I'm gonna I'm going to go ahead and put the distributor cap and rotor on, just to kind of protect the inside of the distributor while I'm doing all the other work. You do want to pay attention. The numbers are on here. You want to make sure that you got this on the same way as the old one. Okay, I got my 3 screws. Okay, and then I'm going to hook up those vacuum hoses right away. Now, there's a big one and a little one, so you don't get them mixed up. I think we'll change the spark plugs now. You can see that the old spark plug has one tab of metal right here. That's very normal, and usually when you get spark plugs you have to set this gap between this piece of metal and the, I think that's called the electrode in there, and you have to set the distance on that gap according to either the manufacturer of the spark plug or maybe certain engines. In this case I bought these Bosch spark plugs, and they have like a double electrode on them, and it's set that way from the factory, so you don't have to do anything to it. I just plug them in. Here's the packaging. It also says up in the corner, torque it to 21 foot-pounds. Sorry it's so blurry. These are platinum +2. So let's put them in there. Another tip I'll show you is that there's specific sockets for pulling out spark plugs. They have like a rubber grommet on the inside. They usually don't come out like mine does, but it helps hold the spark plug in there. It keeps the spark plug from getting damaged, and it keeps it from falling out when you pull it out of the engine. So make sure you use one of those. It's real helpful. So now I'm just gonna work on pulling all the old spark plugs out. Okay, so I got the 6 spark plugs out. They all look about the same on the end, kind of brownish gray with a little bit of corrosion on the metal part there. Basically all the same. This one's a little bit darker, but basically the same. And then I looked in a repair manual I have for another engine, and there's all these different pictures on different spark plug conditions. And this one here looks very similar to what I got. It says gray-brown deposits, lightly coated core nose, and it says normal. Plugs ideally suited to engine in good condition. So hey, that's great news. Okay, so I've got all the old spark plugs out, and I'm going to start putting the new ones in. And because Bosch preset these, I don't have to set the gaps. I just put them in there, all 6 of them. I always start by hand threading them so that I know that I'm not cross threading as I put the spark plug into the cylinder there, or into the head. Once I feel like it's threaded a few times around with my fingers, then I can go ahead and put the wrench on there, but I turn it by hand as far as I can, just so that I know I'm not cross-threading. So I got all 6 spark plugs in there, and hand tightened down, and now I'm gonna torque them down to with the torque wrench to 21 foot-pounds. That's what the packaging said. Okay, so now we're ready to put on the spark plug cables. And so what I'll do one at a time is I'll pull the old ones off the old distributor cap and measure the length and find the new one that is the same length, and then I'll know where it goes, and then I'll pay attention to the little number on there, and that's what spark plug it goes to. And so the center cable that goes to the coil, that's usually a little different looking. In this case, it's got a 90-degree plug on both ends, and so that one's pretty obvious which one that one is. Alright, so now I'll line them up and I'll get them all plugged in. Okay, so I really wanted to use this plastic, I don't know what you call that. It's like a cap that helps hold the plug from the onto the coil. And this is the old cable. I had to pull it off of there and then push the new cable into that. It was difficult, but the rubber boot on these things is pretty squishy, and so it just took some pressure. I'm also going to take off this heat shield kind of thing and wrap it on the new one. Okay, so I got this wrapped around the new wire. I think I called it heat shield earlier. You know, I wonder if it's just like a friction protects it from rubbing up against other wires and hoses. So anyway, I wanted to put it on there, so I did. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you're supposed to apply this terminal grease or dielectric grease inside of each boot before you slip it over the spark plug, and it doesn't hurt to put it on the other end as well before you put it on the distributor cap. It just keeps water and corrosion out and keeps good connection. When you push the boot of the spark plug wire over the spark plug, you should keep pushing until you hear kind of like a little click, and that usually means it's connected properly. Okay, so I've got all the wires on the distributor cap there plugged into all the different spark plugs. Okay, so I got the rubber boot wrapped around the distributor, and it's all the snaps are snapped in place, and it was a little easier than I thought. I did have to unplug the wires for 3 and 4, and that allowed me to kind of wrap it around in there, and then I just opened up this top lid and plugged 3 and 4 back into the distributor cap, and then snapped down the top lid, and that worked a lot easier. So we're good to go. I think we're ready to start it up. Well, runs good, idle's good. We'll take it for a test drive now. Well, the test drive feels good. I feel like there's a little bit more power. I didn't know if I would notice much of a difference, but it does seem a little bit more responsive on the gas pedal. And so I'm pretty happy about that. I know that I'm going to need to do some more work. I want to do the fuel filter, and I've got O2 sensors to change, and I think the exhaust needs some help. And I think the total package is what's really going to bring back the power that this engine was meant to have. But so far, I'm actually really happy with doing just the tune-up. It seems to be a little more responsive, a little more power, and it wasn't too hard to do. So thanks for watching.